Welcome back to Newsviews. I'm Judy Sue. My guest here this morning is Dr. Helene Gayle, President and CEO of the Chicago Community Trust, the first woman to have that position in the Trust's 102-year history here in Chicago. So I want to ask you, Dr. Gayle, Forbes magazine named you as one of the 100 most powerful women in the world. How did that come about? How did you feel about that?
Well, you know, Forbes has had a history of recognizing women's leadership and looks at women in different sectors who have made a real contribution in any given year. At that time, I was heading CARE, which is one of the largest international humanitarian and development organizations fighting poverty in 80-some countries around the world. And we had put a real focus on the power of empowering girls and women and how that makes a big difference in changing the lives of not only of girls and women, but also of communities and families and nations, and why by investing in girls and women, you can have the best return on your investment, if you will. And so I think I was recognized for the work that I was doing at that time, leading what is an incredible organization, making a difference in global poverty through empowering girls and women.
And taking you back just a little further, you started out, as we mentioned, as a pediatrician.
Right.
How did that road lead you from that to leading nonprofits?
Well, you know, I went into medicine because I wanted to have the opportunity to give back and to have an impact on something that's very vital, health. But as I was practicing pediatrics or focusing on individual patients, I realized that oftentimes the things that led to poor health for children and for communities was not just a particular disease entity, but it was actually the social fabric, the society, the broader social factors that oftentimes lead to why some people are affected disproportionately with poor health than others. And so it led me to thinking much more about populations and how do you address populations' health by attacking not only the health issues, but also the broader social and economic issues that ultimately have an impact on our health status. So I went from pediatrics to a career at the Centers for Disease Control and Public Health, and then continued working on public health and more broadly social development, because I recognized how connected those were, and that if you didn't have access to adequate nutrition, to education, to a opportunity for employment, all of those things are probably bigger determinants of health than a lot of the things that we oftentimes focus on in medicine.
So on that topic, looking ahead, what do you see as some of the biggest challenges facing the city of Chicago? And are they similar to other challenges faced by other communities outside of here?
Well, yes, and so a lot of why I was so passionate about coming here to Chicago was because a lot of the things that I've seen around the world are some of the same things that we see in an environment like Chicago. And so at the core is the fact that we don't all have the opportunity to realize our full potential, and that some communities are disproportionately impacted by lack of opportunity and lack of access to the things that allow us to realize our full potential. So, you know, that starts with economic opportunity and access to a good education. And then from there, things like health and access to transportation, safe neighborhoods, and all the rest of those sort of things. So those are the kinds of things that we have tried to focus on at the Trust, and looking at how do we make sure that all people who live in this region have the ability to reach their full potential and have access to the things that give us all a happy and safe life. And so those are the things I want to continue to look at.
And I guess that is the big question, right? How do we do that? How do we get there?
Yeah, and I think we start by working with communities to find solutions. And I've really been very impressed as I've started to learn a little bit about Chicago, how much is actually going on in neighborhoods, how much people are actually starting to look at how they can improve educational opportunities, economic opportunities, starting small businesses. We're a part of a project that's giving small grants out to local businesses so that they can start entrepreneurship in their own communities and develop jobs and economic opportunities. So, you know, it's really starting at the grassroots level, starting with giving citizens a chance, giving citizens hope for the future.
Before we wrap up, I just want to ask you quickly, as we are wrapping up 2017, looking ahead to 2018, share any words of inspiration for our viewers in terms of what we can all do to contribute to, right, the betterment of our community and making Chicago a better city.
Well, I think that we can open our pocketbooks, our wallets, and give. We have our Unity Fund. We also have the Chicago Tribune Charities that will be at the Trust this year. And then we can get involved by volunteering with organizations that help to provide food and shelter to citizens. And then we can learn more about our city, and so that we know how we can be good citizens throughout the community and be generous with our time, with our money, and with our talents.
Well, we appreciate your time here this morning. Dr. Helene Gayle, the new CEO of the Chicago Community Trust. Welcome to Chicago.
It's my pleasure.
And that does it for Newsviews. Thank you for joining us on this Sunday. We hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. And now let's go back to the news desk.